You still waiting for the light? What are you doing?
I was taking my pause before I opened this episode of the Believe in FCS Football podcast with Sean Anderson and Joe DeLeon. Normally, Joe's name comes first, but it's a Thursday show, so that's why I'm going to introduce myself first instead of dumb Joe over there who's just for 30 minutes telling me about how much he hates LA, how much, this and that. I'm just like, I want to talk about some FCS football. We got a huge weekend coming up, a massive amount of games. This FC Estimates, it's the first time all year that I have been genuinely excited looking down the schedule and saying, it was a continued excitement. We have had some great games this year. We've had overtime wins, FCS over FBS upsets, great, fantastic games. But the slate for FC Estimates, which we'll get into in the back half of the show, it reminded me, Joe, of sitting in Ranger and going through it when everything was back to normal, our first year doing the show. And you're like, oh my gosh, 3-0 versus 3-0, 4-0 versus 3-1, all that. You're like, oh, this is a heavy hitting battle. We're getting into more interconference play, a lot of CAA matchups. We're seeing that across the board also with other conferences. So you're looking at it like, oh man, I got a little tingly. I'll admit it. I got a little tingle. I'm thinking, man, what's the next game that I'm going to be able to come across? And then there it is. Boom. It's exciting. It's an exciting week of FCS football. That's why I'm opening and not the grumbler, Joe DeLeon. But Joe DeLeon also is my broadcast partner, good friend, former roommate, and teammate, even though we basically didn't even play the same sport. It's okay.
What?
Specialist football.
That angers me.
Well, that being said, it is what I can't take my shots every now and then.
No, it's not allowed. This is a friendly podcast.
Raise the brim of your hat. Hold on, I got something for you.
What are you giving me? You're putting a hat on? Do you also have a Patagonia hat?
No,
I can't see that. The lighting is terrible.
Well, this is how you were looking at me.
Somebody buy Sean a ring light.
I literally just had my setup okay.
Can you buy a ring light? Can you please?
Can you buy a ring light? I'm not going to look at the laptop because my brim was so low. It's distracting when you do odd visual cues.
$30. People want to see our beautiful faces, Sean.
You know what? I said it last week.
Tune in for how beautiful we look. We look great. We're the best looking FCS show hosts on the market. I don't think there's a single other host that's better looking than us.
Ring light goes with clickbait thumbnails. We don't do that. I
make the thumbnails a little. Do you look at the thumbnails that I post?
I've seen them. I thought they were standard. If you're going for clickbait, it's going to change our relationship greatly.
Okay, I actually not demand. I'm the one who makes the clickbait. Or the thumbnails, so I don't know who I'm demanding it from. The thumbnail for this show is going to be as clickbait as I can possibly make it. So if you clicked on the YouTube video and you were thinking, "What is this bullshit?" Well, it's because of this.
Are we a censored show, by the way?
No, not anymore.
My dad still says you swear too much.
Good.
I abstain because he listens. And because I'd like to get a job in radio one day, and that's the standards that are being upheld.
People curse. The podcast, everything is free go, so it doesn't matter anymore. Radio industry, everything it doesn't matter anymore. You can curse. The FCC doesn't tell me I can't curse anymore.
I love that movie. Steve Buscemi walking across North Dakota. Free go, right? With
Fargo.
Oh, Fargo. Oh,
so speaking of Fargo, we're going to be talking about Fargo today. Oh, I made an FCS football reference on the NFL Draft Prospects show with that transition.
I'm sure they all like that.
Ryan caught on. Ryan started laughing.
He did?
I didn't think anyone would notice. And then I gave Alex a hard time because he doesn't listen to the show and he doesn't respect me.
Why would he? I meant for listening to the show. I'm not trying to beat you down here at the beginning of the show.
No, you should be beating me down. Sean, no, I'm excited for this weekend, though. I think that we've got a lot of really good games. It is a point where we have this understanding of who's actually good because there's been enough games played. Now's not the home stretch, but like when things pick up. This is when good football games, everybody's competitive. They're going at each other. It is going to be a dogfight up until the end of the season with more and more high-stakes games played each week.
It's the meat of the season, Joe. That's what it is. We're in the thick of it. This is when it gets good. NFL goes till January. This is the meat of the damn season for the FCS. You just got to sit down on Saturday, you get a big old just bucket of chicken next to you and just watch whatever game that you can.
Big old bucket of chicken. That's definitely what Sean does on.
Actually, so Saturday morning, my Saturdays watching games have been Uber Eatsing, whatever appetizing me at work, destroying just such a terrible financial decision.
Mhm.
But when I'm thinking, oh, we got an FCS game on, this is a pretty good ribeye burrito. Let's have ourselves a good day.
What kind of this man's ordering $35 burritos to what special
it's
occasion?
just some sliced ribeye in there. Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm gonna take the filet mignon with the lobster on the side.
That's actually one of the cheaper protein entrees that they serve out. Yeah, their chorizo is way more expensive. Their shrimp is like $3 extra. The non-paid protein is tofu for that burrito.
That's wonderful. Well, you're a big tofu guy.
I do like tofu.
Sean the vegan over here, so I'm gonna.
Hey, watch it.
I'm gonna commandeer the read this week. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are back on the gridiron. His teams are back on for another football season.
The hell is this?
As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all pro and college football action this season. With all new updated site and interface. Wow, I am destroying this read. I am messing this up.
Hey.
Even more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to their website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on your favorite sports. Sean, you want to do the tagline? Talk about unprofessional. BetOnline is I already said that. BetOnline, where the game starts. You look really disappointed in me.
Why would you do the read?
I wanted to change it up. I wanted to piss you off. Well, there's only one read this week, so I needed to do my read. It was my turn.
That was your turn.
When there's two reads,
that's something that's brought up pre-show. Like, hey, I'll do the read this week.
We don't do that. Show. We don't do that. It's kind of like when like if when we were living together, if somebody was one of us ordered food and the other one would just kind of come over and grab some of it and then walk away. It's kind of like that.
I'm gonna give you such a beat down in South Dakota. It's going to be
good.
Bring ice, Thumper. I know you're bringing brisket and beer. We're having a chat. I know where everyone's going to be having a grand old time. Bring whatever. If we're cooking up meats, bring a steak frozen for Joe's eye because he just, again, commandeered a read, butchered it to hell, and I'm the gambler on the show. I'm the sports bettor. I'm the one that likes the lines. I'm the one that likes the tasty spreads. Joe DeLeon sits there and says, oh, maybe. I'll text Joe a bet. He'll say, I'll be like, well, you
don't text me.
You could at least give me some encouragement for my bets. You sit there and no sell me.
You're bad at him. You're bad at it. You're in the negative more than you're in the positive. I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing. Sean, it's UWU game of the week time as the lower third as the lower third indicates on the YouTube. Don't ask what the reference is. We don't even remember what it was. Yeah, I just remember it was absolutely ridiculous. So we've got two UWU games of the week. We've got the game that is played on ESPN2, which is between Montana and Eastern Washington. And then we're going to touch on the North Dakota State, North Dakota game, as that obviously is a rivalry between in-state teams and a time when both teams are competitive, which typically does not happen. It's usually just all North Dakota State smacking around North Dakota, but that is not going to be the case this season. Sean, let's start with the Montana Eastern Washington game. This game is justifiably on ESPN2. If we were to pick any game this season, except maybe the marker game, which has in the past been a spot for College Game Day, this game belongs on ESPN because of the magnitude of the matchup between two highly ranked teams, one of the best defenses in the country in the FCS in Montana, and then the best offense in the country in Eastern Washington. And I see this, and we talked about it a little bit last week, as a bizarre matchup in the sense where you kind of have to think, who is going to win, Montana's defense or Eastern Washington's offense? It's all going to come down to that.
It is. Humphrey, the quarterback from Montana, has thrown for a third of what Eric Barriere has done in just about every single passing statistic outside of touchdowns. And it's just going to come down to how Montana, and credit them, good defense, solid defense, strong defense, how they're going to be able to contain Barriere, if they're going to be able to get physical enough with him and try to shake him out of the never-ending groove that he's been in so far to start the season. As hot a player as we've seen at the quarterback position since Trey Lance, talent of Trey Lance, I wouldn't say so. But for starting off a season on the right foot and getting as much momentum for a team as possible, Lance-esque. He's just taken the team on his back. And I don't think that's too far of a statement to say he's had an incredibly hot start. And you could compare it to the first 3 weeks of 2018 North Dakota State or 2019, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else deserves to be the Walter Payton Award winner after what we've seen. He could not play a single other game, and I'm still voting for him. He is going to throw for more yards and touchdowns over the first 3-4 games of the season. He's going to have a better total from what he's already just played. If we ended his season now, is going to be better than other quarterbacks for programs that do not throw the ball very effectively at all. But you're talking about here a team that is, per their website, they are averaging, for passing yards per game, 449 yards per game. It's one thing to do that in one game, but to consistently average almost 450 yards per game is astronomical. And the reason why this matchup becomes so critical, and Montana has put up these stats not just against walkover teams. They did it against Washington. Yeah. Washington is anemic on offense this year, but they're still a Pac-12 team.
A ranked Pac-12 team.
Right. What they were.
Were. Yeah.
But so far this season, they're only allowing 212 passing yards per game. That is where the success lies for this Montana defense. They're allowing 155 on the ground, which is not that great, but 212 passing going up against 450 is going to be a crazy matchup.
Joe, to put it in perspective, through 3 games, Montana has given up 21 total points. They've given up literally 7 points a game.
That's stupid.
13-7 win, 42-7 win, 39-7 win. Most recent win against Cal Poly, 39-7. You just look at this team and you're like, who's going to score on them? Washington 7 points. It's just a team that is suffocating on defense. And Eastern Washington is just a team that's as explosive on offense as you can be. It's Broncos Seahawks. It's Broncos Seahawks, but it might not even turn out that way in the Super Bowl because we don't know how it's going to turn out. We didn't know going into that Super Bowl that the Seahawks defense was going to dominate the Broncos. We thought Broncos offense could go off for 50 points like they do every single game also. This is what we're looking at. And it's week 5. Yeah. To have such an awesome matchup so early, how do you not get juiced up for this if you're an FCS fan? If you're not just strictly like a JMU fan, you should be tuning into this. Somebody that has no vested interest in either of these teams is just listening to the show to hear if Illinois State gets brought up. But
Kwame puts the show on like 3 times speed. And then he just listens and then when he hears Illinois State, he puts it back to normal. And then if it's just for a couple seconds, then he puts it back on 3 times speed and he just listens.
And then he's just like, I agree or disagree. What are we bad? He's a doctor. We're just giving him a hard time.
Still one of the day oneers.
Regardless, it's going to be broadcast to you on ESPN2. You should be watching this game if you're listening to this show because we will be.
Yeah, by the way, Kwame, I just have to quickly throw this out there. So I made a critical error when we first started doing the show.
Why are you bringing this one up?
Wait. So Kwame Curtis has been a listener of the show for a long time, and one of our earliest responsive listeners of the show. We named the mailbag segment, which we for some reason don't do anymore, after him. And I made a mistake by accidentally saying Kwame Brown because that's like the first name that came to mind, and I couldn't think of his last name when we were doing the show. So fun fact, Kwame Brown now does a show with Believe. So if you want to go check that out, it's called Mama's Cooking with Kwame Brown. So we're full circle here on the FCS Football Podcast with the Believe Podcast Network.
I had no clue where you were going. I had no idea.
It all is full circle.
Good for you. Good one.
I have to indicate though here the matchup that is going to be also very critical. So we talked about those passing statistics that they're allowing.
Sure.
Montana has a good secondary, but where they're the most dangerous is the relentless pursuit that they have getting after quarterbacks. Did you know that they have a player right now that has 5.5 sacks already this season? Patrick O'Connell, one of their starting linebackers, has had a fantastic run at the beginning of the season. And then you've got other guys in the mix. Marcus Wenlin is also at 2 sacks. You've got a bunch of other guys that have 1 sack or a half a sack. They have a very aggressive pass rush that is getting after guys. Wellnell, how the hell do you pronounce that? Wellnell?
Yeah,
let's go Wellnell. He's got 6 quarterback hits as well. They have a very, very good pass rush. Why am I just bad at pronouncing things? Regardless, though, that offensive line for Eastern Washington, they don't protect Barrier. They're not going to throw for 500 yards.
It's going to be very difficult. I mean, both teams have a bear of a task ahead of them. And to be a fly on the wall during some of the meetings? I mean, that Tuesday meeting when you're just coming in, 6 a.m., sitting there, the coach is addressing the whole team. You're just like, what's he going to say? We're up against Montana, and then vice versa. We're up against Eastern Washington. They're pretty good on offense. What is he going to say to us right now? To sit in that meeting room, Joe, right when you're a player, you're like, oh God. But when you're just someone who's a fan of the game, you're like, oh man, what are they thinking? I just want to know what each team is personally thinking about facing the other team, because they know more about this game than you and I do. They've done more scouting than you and I have done, but you just want to know. So. I want to know so badly.
Yeah, I almost don't even really factor in Montana's offense versus Eastern Washington's defense, because Montana's going to move the ball pretty easily. Eastern Washington defensively has not been good this year. They have allowed some pretty bad totals. 31 points per game allowed is not good. That's not a good number. So Montana's offense is going to move pretty easily against their defense. It is strictly going to come down to the fact is, can Eastern Washington protect Barrier? Can Barrier make plays on the run? And can he's not going to throw for 500. He's probably not going to throw for 400. But in a more pedestrian effort, can he rise above this big challenge of going against a really aggressive pass rush and 2 very aggressive linebackers? Can he rise above in a game where he really needs to be perfect? Like, he can't throw any interceptions in a game like this or he's done.
If anyone can, he can, is what I would say. In the FCS right now, if any quarterback can, maybe him and Cole Kelly. Maybe those 2. Other than that, I don't know. I couldn't say. I mean, I guess Eric Schmid came up pretty clutch against South Dakota State. I would say that.
Right.
But those 3 guys, other than them, you're going to get swamped. You're going to be back there. You're going to get rattled, because that's what their defense does. They rattle the hell out of a quarterback.
Yeah, so that game is going to be just super tight, and I'm going to do everything in my power to watch this game live, or at least most of it live. I think it's a late game. It's like
it's West Coast
kickoff. Yeah, it's West Coast game, and it's pretty late kickoff, which is part of the reason why I think it got put on ESPN too. But still excited to watch it. Sean, the other game that has become so exciting over the last 2 seasons is this North Dakota State North Dakota rivalry, which used to be kind of a joke. It used to be a walkover game for North Dakota State. But now North Dakota is a top 10 ranked team. Otis Way has been a fantastic part of this offense and has led them because of how effective he has been as a running back. And we know that their success is stringent on the performance of Otis Way. But North Dakota State, after a pretty sloppy spring transitioning away from Dylan Raduns and Trey Lance, they have looked really good so far this season, led by Quincy Patterson.
They have,
No, go ahead. I was done with my point.
Oh, I didn't realize you were done. Yeah. I was for this matchup. I was looking to see if there was going to be anything. I was going to go a little miscellaneous here and see if there was any discipline issues on either of the team, just strictly on the field. So I went to the penalties, and I was watching the Monday Night Football game between the Eagles and the Cowboys, and the Eagles had like 13 penalties, and they looked awful. So I'm like, let's see what's going on between the Bison and the Fighting Hawks, or Fighting Hawks? Yeah, Fighting Hawks.
Yeah,
Sean. They both only have 18 penalties on the year. So I say, okay, so they're both just about equally as disciplined as you could be through going into week 5. And then you go to total offense, Joe, average per game for North Dakota, 444 yards gained. Average for North Dakota State, 487 yards gained. So they are lockstep, at least in those two categories. And then we're looking at yards given up. I think North Dakota gives up like 80 more yards per game, maybe 120, but still lockstep across the board between these two teams. And I think this is the closest they've ever been ranked to each other, except for, I think, back half of last year when North Dakota State lost its second game and North Dakota only had lost one game. But right now they're incredibly close, and it's going to be a very competitive game, as it always is. One thing that I would expect from this game, and a broken record, Sean, coming at you, North Dakota's defense is going to fly around, and North Dakota State's defense is going to hit you hard. So it's going to be a long day for both offenses.
Yeah, and despite the fact that North Dakota has been a lot more competitive thus far, they still lost pretty handedly to North Dakota State. And the big reason for that is that we know that North Dakota State just out-talents a lot of the people that they face.
Yeah.
And I think that, sadly, as great as Otis Way is, the rest of that roster, I don't know if they can really come on in the field and compete. And that was a year where it was almost a down year for North Dakota State during the spring when they played in March. I really don't know if North Dakota is going to have much of a fight to put up.
I think they'll put up more of a fight. I think making it as competitive as we would like is going to be a little more difficult because it is North Dakota State you're facing off against. And then obviously FC estimates, spoiler, me and Joe both have North Dakota State winning. But that's just because we almost know better at this point. But if you're going to be watching a game for entertainment and for a game that has the high potential of being way more competitive than a lot of people, including us, would expect it to be, this is one of them. This is a game where you're like, oh man, I'd say it doesn't get out of hand until the fourth quarter, or it's not definitive until the fourth quarter. I think North Dakota hangs on, or North Dakota starts getting blown out. Then they start raging on back. It's going to be fourth quarter is where this game's decided. Obviously, all games are decided there, but you know what I'm saying.
I don't know if I necessarily see this being a blowout. I just think that North Dakota State's it's going to be kind of like that Central Arkansas, Sam Houston game where Central Arkansas is talented enough to hang with them and put up some points, but it's going to be a multi-score game throughout, probably. It'll probably finish as like a 14-point, 17-point game, somewhere along those lines. All right, Sean, we're going to wrap up here with everybody's favorite segment, FC Estimates, where we pick games for the upcoming week. To recap last week, Sean edges me by just one.
That's right.
Relax. Just big time. 7 for 10. I go 6 for 10.
This away.
Calm down there, Buckaroo. I'm
sorry. I'm sorry. Who's mounting the strongest comeback ever? How about this?
You won 1 week. You won by 1 point.
Just let me read this one more time, just for myself here.
Look at the percent. Your percentage went up 2%. My percentage only went down a couple.
So I'm 2 or a couple.
I am
more or less than 2.
More.
Yeah, that's what I thought. More.
79%.
I just want to sit in there right now.
67%.
Run the water here.
33 for 42 compared to Sean's 28 for 42. So there's a
let me get my towel ready.
There is a 5-game difference. So you would need to have.
I'm just gonna sit in it, Joe. Okay. Oh, that's nice.
Okay, get off your high horse. Get off the high horse.
Let me just.
You're gonna crush the horse. You're too big to be on top of this high horse. You're gonna kill that horse. All right, going into next week's games. Stony Brook versus URI because you want to be a clown.
What am I being a clown for? I just wanted to sit in my victory. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to bathe in it. I'll ride with the boys here. URI riding with the boys.
Yeah, I'm riding my boys too. Give me Rhode Island to beat Stony Brook. Stony Brook's not that good this year. Rhode Island is
Yeah,
the
but we know how those
finally
go. It's
ranked.
it's gonna be a sweat show though. We know how they go.
It's gonna, yeah, they'll find a way. Missouri, yeah, they'll find a way to make us really nervous during that too. Missouri State versus Illinois State.
I'm taking the Redbirds.
Stupid. Missouri State for me.
I know Missouri State's played well. I'm taking this literally on FCS is super unpredictable whim. That's what I'm going with on that one.
Jacksonville State versus Kennesaw State. I have to say, shout out to Sean Blythe, unearthing out of nowhere from the grave, sends us the greatest piece of content that we've seen, where he shared with us Hooter and Cocky, the former mascots for these respected universities. Easily some of the ugliest bird mascots I've seen. One of them's just some dude wearing a bunch of feathers and some sneakers. I don't know how that's a chicken. And also, Cocky's a terrible name. Hooter's disturbing.
Hooter's an awful name also.
Did you see the pictures?
Yeah, I saw them all. They're awful. Terrifying. Terrifying. I mean, it's the names. Hooter and Cocky. Is that over sexualized, or am I being a weirdo?
No, that's definitely not.
That's intentional also, right?
Okay, well, that was like back in the 60s when everybody was oblivious.
I think it was intentional. I think that's when everybody was a little more relaxed.
All right, who are you picking though?
I'm taking Jacksonville State, as you pronounced it.
I'm going to take Jacksonville State as well. Wofford versus ETSU.
I'm taking ETSU to win this one.
Yeah, Quay Holmes has been fantastic. Give me ETSU as well. Montana versus Eastern Washington.
Here we go. It's one of the UWU games here. Big decision.
The UWU game.
Big decision.
Oh, dummy over here.
I'm taking Eastern Washington. Give me Barrier. He's going to be marching down.
They are not. I love Eric Barrier. He is my favorite quarterback in the FCS right now, but they are not going to protect him. They're not going to be able to. Eastern Washington is not going to be able to move the ball as effectively as they will. They're going to score 20 points, and Montana is going to score 21, and they're going to win in a close game. So give me Montana. Harvard versus Holy Cross.
I will take the most disciplined offensive line in the entire FCS, Harvard.
I am going with Harvard as well. I saw some stat, and I'm totally butchering it, but they've on average beaten their opponents by more than Alabama's beaten their opponents.
I'm sure.
Which is just stupid. I'm glad that they're back to normal. I hated playing Harvard, but I'm glad that they're back to normal. Idaho, UC Davis. What are you doing?
I'm taking me the Vandals, buddy. I'm going to mount a comeback, and you're going to be sitting there next week dreading FC estimates. I'm taking the Vandals to win it.
So when we get to the end of the season and we reevaluate and we're like, what happened? Why did Sean lose by 30 picks? Why did that happen? It's because when we have weeks like this where there's big matchups, but an obvious winner, you don't pick the better team. You try to get cute with it, and you picked Idaho. Idaho's a good football team, but the Aggies are significantly better. So I'm going with the team that upset Tulsa.
Let's go. Come on.
Competitively against
everyone's on the edge of their seat.
State.
Let's hear who Joe's going with.
I already said it. UC Davis. You can eat it. North Dakota State versus North Dakota for the second UWU game of the week.
North Dakota State.
Yeah, give me the Bison.
Oh, big dummy over here.
I picked the same game as you.
Next game, go ahead.
Dummy. Screw you. VMI versus the Citadel.
VMI. They're going to take it. Handily at that also.
The big rivalry game. I'm taking VMI as well. What's going on, FCS Fan Nation Radio, guys? What's happening, man? What the Youngstown State versus UNI?
I'll take UNI just on pedigree.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with UNI as well. They're better than Youngstown State this year. Sean, you got anything else?
As the previous victor of FC estimates, I wish you the best of luck, and I am extending my hand in an act of gratitude as you being a losing but grateful competitor. You've entered this season humble after taking your absolute ass whooping in the past spring. I'm happy that you had a couple good weeks. Fluke as they may have been.
Perfect. I had a perfect week.
Fluke as they may have been.
You will never touch that.
It's been very fun competing against you. And this is just me outstretching my hand as a motion of, what's the word? Sportsmanship.
Do you think you can take a wrench on a plane? I think they'll let me. with like a bunch of nails glued to it. Do you think they'll let me take that on the plane? No?
I'm gonna unscrew your bed frame. So when you plop down in it at night, you're just gonna go
Actually,
right through.
I don't know why I would need to threaten you, because the rental car is going to be in my name. I'm just going to walk past you and go get the rental car and drive. I'm going to leave you at the airport in Minneapolis. So if anyone wants to volunteer to pick up
You better
Sean,
hope I don't get a car.